joining. And we find ourselves amidst, these very, very difficult times where we're not really sure of um, what is really happening. We're not sure of what the future course of action is going to look like. We're not sure of what rules and regulations the school authorities or CBSE guidelines or your state board, whichever city you belong to, is going to take out. So there's just uncertainty surrounding us from all corners in the given situations that we find ourselves in. Amidst this, there is also something that we have been preparing almost all our lives for, which is the board exams. Yeah. When we come into ninth grade, we're told that, oh, so abhi pad lo, 10th mein to board exams hain. And then when we are in 10th grade, they tell us ki is saal pad lo, board exams hain. Then they tell us in 11th grade also that this is your field. Now you have chosen this for the rest of your life. And 11th mein pad lo because basics abhi strong honge. And in 12th grade, again, you have your board exams. So I think board exams are those final examination round that we have been gearing up for ever since we step into school, right? And here we are today, where we don't even know if the exams are going to take place or not. We don't even know if everything that we've studied for so far is going to come in handy or not. For 10th graders, in any case, the CBSE guidelines have come out saying that there are not going to be any board exams and they're cancelled, and they're only going to be, marked on their previous performance. But 11th graders and 12th graders obviously face this looming uncertainty of what's going to happen. So this uncertainty is something that we call anxiety. This uncertainty wherein we don't know what's coming next. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if we're going to get the college of our dreams. We don't know if we have to study or not for next month. We don't know whether we're going to be sitting down for entrances. We don't know anything. And we find ourselves just second guessing. We just find ourselves amidst all of these automatic thoughts that come in that, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I'm not able to succeed? What if just because I've never fully given my all to studying throughout 12th grade and I was waiting for my board exams and now they are not happening, what if I don't have a good percentage based on my past performance, right? So each and every one of us here is probably facing a very different situation depending on their individual experiences of 12th grade. But one thing that we all have in common is that all of us are together in this. All of us are experiencing the same thing. All of us are sitting at home and all of us are just waiting for the next bulletin. Most of us have probably experienced COVID already. Somebody in our family has experienced it. Somebody you may know, you've lost them to COVID, and it's very, very difficult. Combined with just the unprecedented times, the worry of what is going to happen tomorrow. And amongst this, one thing that I would urge all of you to think about is that how much of this is in your control? What is in your control? And how much of this is outside your control? And you absolutely cannot exercise any control over it. Almost like imagine you're standing inside a circle. Okay. And the circumference of that circle is called the LOC. We know what the LOC is. It's the line of control. You're standing inside. What is in your control is your preparation. What is in your control are your thoughts that you experience. What is also in your control is what you know. What you know is that abhi date nahi aayi hai, ye syllabus hai. Date kabhi bhi aa sakti hai. So what you should do is prepare as if exams are next month. If they happen, good. If they don't happen, it's okay. You will only gain more knowledge. Yes? Everybody with me until now? Okay. So while we are amidst these unprecedented times, what should we focus on? How we are feeling. And how you do that is to be more in tuned with your emotions, your body. So probably your entire day is going by, by waking up in the morning, not knowing what to do. पिछले कुछ महीने तो जब उठ के सीधा पढ़ने बैठते थे because we were preparing for our exams. But now I think after giving so many cycles of pre-boards, everybody just knows the entire syllabus. And they're just like, what to do? You wake up, you're on your digital tablets, you're watching shows, you're on that app called House Party that I have recently discovered. And I feel very old because I have discovered it almost 1.5 year into the pandemic. But most people I know right now are spending all their time on Instagram. Also, another thing I got to know about was Discord. So yes, on Discord. Snapchat, Facebook is passe now. I think Facebook is old news. Then all of these other new upcoming apps like Twitch and streaming games on YouTube and playing all of these Call of Duty and Minecraft kind of things. Yeah. And while you're doing all of this, what are your parents doing? Your parents are just standing on your head saying, Parlo, exams are next month. And you're just like, but there are no exams. We've not been told. So I think that also increases a lot of stress that we experience in terms of board exams, because automatically in your mind, you're not prepared for this. You don't know what to do. You don't feel like studying because there's no motivation. There's no purpose because there is no deadline. So you find yourself very confused. And it's very natural at that time to automatically start getting irritated, automatically start lashing out at parents, having these constant conflicts over padhai. And abhi ye bhi nahi pata padhai karni hai ya nahi karni. So the best way to deal with this is to take it as a default कि पढ़ाई करनी है. थोड़ी सी regularly is important. Why? Because you don't want to find yourself in a situation where all of a sudden there's a bulletin that in 15 days you have an exam, and then you find yourself getting anxious over not being able to complete the syllabus or over the fact that you're not prepared. So let's prepare ourselves for adversities. Let's prepare ourselves for what is unknown. I understand that there's absolutely no motivation altogether. And kahan se aayegi motivation? There is just no clarity on what's going to happen. But the motivation comes from within. And what is going to motivate you? A question, a simple question. For all you 12th graders, ask yourself where you want to see or where you see yourself in 5 years from now. What college you want to be in? What course do you see yourself doing? And that answer that you come to is exactly what you are going to be studying for right now. You're not studying for your parents. You're not studying for your teachers. You're not studying for marks. None of that matters anymore in the given unprecedented situation that we find ourselves in. What matters is your success. What matters is your plan. And what matters is your goal. And how are you going to achieve that? By just having that vision right in front of you. You need to be like a horse with horse blinders, with just that vision in front of you that this is what I want to be when I grow up. This is where I see myself in 5 years, having this degree. And to get that degree, let's start working in a reverse order. So, for example, somebody sees themselves getting an MBA. To get an MBA, You need to give the CAT exam. To give the CAT exam, you need to be having met certain academic requirements, which is perhaps an undergraduation degree. To be able to get that undergraduation degree, you need to get into a college. To be able to get into college, you need to pass 12th grade. For example, somebody sees themselves becoming a doctor. To be able to get an MBBS, you need to get into a med school. To be able to get into a med school, you need to study. Study why? Because of the PMT. And I don't have a lot of knowledge, but according to me, the syllabus of the PMT is something that is covered in 11th and 12th grade, right? So it is what you study right now in whatever course you want to take in the future, which is going to be beneficial. So don't think about boards at all. Just think about what lies across this pandemic for you, right? And study for that. I understand that it's not something that is solid enough, objective enough to give you the purpose and motivation. Yet, this is where it gets a little difficult. We get into our resources, we speak to ourselves and find that motivation from within, right? So that is something that we need to focus on. One more thing that is very important in this entire scheme of uncertainty is that you are not alone. What you're feeling is also something that you're not feeling alone. Students across the country, not just in your school, not just in your class, students across the country are in the same boat as you are. Yes, somebody is, actually, let me rephrase that. Students across the country are in the same ocean as you are. And everybody, all of you, might have different sizes of boats that you are on. Somebody's boat might be small, somebody might be on a yacht, somebody might be on a sailing ship, somebody might be on a cruise. We don't know. So everybody's experiences are different, but everybody is facing the pandemic in a similar way. So when you find yourself not understanding what to do, when you find yourself confused, when you don't know how to categorize these thoughts, feelings, is when you reach out, is when you speak, is when you talk. You reach out to your friends, ask them, are you experiencing the same thing that I am? Are you also scared? Are you also confused? Are you also just not motivated? Are you also happy that both are not happening? Or are you also just, anxious about what's going to happen? It always helps to communicate. If you can't reach out to a friend, reach out to your parents. Tell them how you feel. If there's constant conflict between your parents and you on studies or your schedule, because I assume most of you guys are not sleeping at night and just chatting with your friends or playing games all night, and then waking up in the morning around like 3 in the afternoon, and then your parents are just like running after you, ud jao, kha lo, naha lo, ye kar lo, wo kar lo, and that is just very nagging, and you guys would rather have boards and go to college and not stay at home. These are the times when you need to actually communicate with your parents. Sit them down, talk to them, help them understand what you are feeling, understand from them what they are feeling. There needs to be an open channel of communication between you and the elders. Or else we just like name it the generation gap. हमारे माँ बाप हमें समझते नहीं है, हमारे friends हमें समझते नहीं है. I feel alone, or they're just of the old generation. They are not going to understand what I'm feeling. There's no point in talking to them. These are all wrong thoughts. Reach out, try them out, give them a chance. If they don't understand you, then you have the right to say this. But even then, you're not alone. You still have a lot of people to talk to. You can reach out to helplines, you can reach out to mental health experts, right? So, all in all, it's very important to remember the LOC, which is the line of control around you. you're inside that circle. Focus on only the things that you can control, not the ones that are not in your control. Second, bring in the motivation from within. Focus on what your goal is, on what your vision is down the years, not on what's going to happen next month. The pandemic, like what, you guys are 18, 17, 18. You have a whole life in front of you, right? These 2 years, 1.5, 2 years are essentially just a cross section in this longitudinal life of about 60, 70 years, 80 years. You will remember this. All of us are going to remember this. We're going to talk to the future generations about, we experienced this. This is going to go down in history about how social media helped us in this time. And you all are going to actually shape it. So each one of you is responsible. Each one of you is instrumental in making this work, only by focusing on the positive, not focusing on what is negative, not focusing on what is uncertain. So the fact of the matter is, we don't know what's going to happen next month. But we know what the syllabus is. We know how to prepare for it. We know probably what is going to be asked in the question in the exam because you've given so many pre-boards and mock tests. Let's just focus on that. Right? One more thing, and the last thing that I would want to kind of approach here before I start taking questions is that when something wrong happens, when anything wrong happens, when things don't go according to the plan, or when you feel that nothing ever goes my way, what you need to tell yourself is that I am not supposed to personalize this. I'm not the only one. I can't be internalizing it. It's not my fault. Right? And while you are doing this, it's also important to take care of yourself. Anxiety, the stress of not knowing what is ahead, of exams, of college admissions, of entrances, the stress of it all can take you down to such an extent if you don't take care of yourself that you will end up experiencing the backlash of it and need mental health expert help. Right? And in that moment, take care of yourself. How? By just certain self-care tips, which is maintaining positivity, spending time doing things that you really like doing, indulging in hobbies, keeping your support system close to you. Your support system includes your parents, your friends, your partners, your internet friends. All of these are your support systems. So keeping them close, talking to them, reaching out, and also ensuring that you don't bottle up anything. Communicating, talking to your parents, resolving conflicts, not sitting on them is also very important. Yeah. Okay, so with that, while we are maintaining our self-care, we are reaching out, we are finding the motivation from within, we are ensuring that we're within the line of control and not trying to control external circumstances. We're now open for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Nishtha. Very well explained and very good points were mentioned. So now I would like to open the house for the questions and queries. It can be from anyone, like from the students also. If parents have joined, they can also ask like what problems they are dealing with students, or if there is some issue they can discuss. And I hope so principals have also joined. If they are also there, you can also put up their question. So the rule is you have to raise your virtual hand, like you have to go to on your screen and on reaction show off your hand. Then we will take one by one all the questions. So our first question is from Roshini, sorry. Yes, Roshini. You can unmute
Good
yourself.
evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, that was indeed a very good insight you gave us about the current scenario. My question to you is that you said very beautifully about the daily routine of most of the students across the globe, that how are they passing their time and their daily routine is so much disturbed, it's just upside down. I wanted to know, ma'am, that as a teacher of psychology, I'm teaching with grades 11th and 12th. They very often say the same thing that, ma'am, we are unable to concentrate and focus on the way we used to do the times we were coming to school. And because that there's a break, we are no longer coming to school, we are no longer able to speak with our friends. And it is disturbing not only for us as students, but also for the people who are around us, as in the parents and all. So we keep telling them that children, we all are sailing in the same boat. Like you gave a beautiful example, we are in the same ocean, and maybe all of us are in a different boat. Some is in a yacht, some is in a small boat, and some is in cruise, and so on. But then the only answer that we get from the students is, ma'am, I know whatever you're saying is very much relevant and apt, but somehow still I am not able to focus as much as I should have been doing it. So, what exact answer do you think should we give as educators to children which will help them to follow it, not only just to listen? Ma'am,
Unmute.
you're yes, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am, for your question. So I would like to bring 2 points into consideration right now. One is that, so evolutionarily, a human's attention span is for 45 minutes. And this is something that I have told lots of students myself. And this is something that we as psychologists believe in, that, 45 minutes is the current attention span of the human brain, which is why, lectures in class, in schools are for 45, 50 minutes. And then there's, that 5-minute transition time. Even at home, when students are studying, they should only focus on completing or sitting at a stretch for 45 minutes. But, you know, because of the advent of social media and because of the digital screen time that everybody is right now, they don't have a choice but to spend all their time on gadgets. The attention span has drastically reduced. One, because of the visual stimulation that they're getting, and the second is the auditory stimulation that they're getting. So Instagram, movies, Netflix, Amazon, all of these things are just moving on the screen, and they have these hearing people talk or just music is giving them a lot of stimulation that books are not able to give anymore. So that's one aspect of this, because of which most students are currently struggling. Like, for example, an Instagram reel or an Instagram story is for 15 seconds. And we find ourselves in a time where we're not even able to sustain attention on one particular thing for 15 seconds. And we just like click next, next, next. So we're expecting those students to be able to actually focus on something like studies, which is not even as half engaging as what they are, as the kind of media or information that they're consuming at the moment. So first of all, I think we need to ask students to create a balance between their screen time and other activities that they're doing, because until we do that, we will not be able to shift their focus or keep them in the habit of sustaining attention on things that are not as stimulating. And how we can do that is to give them certain um, activities. Like, for example, I if I was in your position, I would tell them to solve one Sudoku every day. We're getting the newspapers, and there are so many apps on our phone now that allow us to print Sudokus or just kind of solve them, or do crosswords, do puzzles. So that's one aspect of it. Second is to something that we call the E exercise. E for elephant is the most common vowel that is used in the English language. Take a newspaper, identify an article, and cross out all the E's and time yourself. That's another way of engaging yourself and at the same time maintaining concentration for at least those 5 minutes while you're crossing out all the E's in an article. Another thing which also helps is to listen to any kind of music, any kind of instrumental piece which has lots of beats in it, and then focusing on just one beat and trying to kind of see where it goes, highs and lows, and just kind of try to catch that beat. It helps in maintaining focus. It increases your attention span and your ability. So I think these are a few things that we need to kind of focus on while children come to us and complain about losing their concentration. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was indeed really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roshni. So our next question is from Ayush. Yes, Ayush. Go ahead.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask you something regarding, I think this is relevant to the topic that you're discussing here. I have encountered a lot of my friends and other people who I've talked to who are not comfortable with talking to their parents about their mental health. Like I've asked them and they've explicitly said that they require help, or like there's some people who should be getting help, but I mean their parents are not as open or they're not as close with their parents, so they can't get that help. So what should I do to help them?
I completely understand when people say that they're not able to reach out to their parents for help. And ऐसा हो सकता है कभी कभार that students, children are not able to form that kind of a rapport with their parents or trust them in the right manner. In that situation, what always helps is to either reach out to a friend, or there are so many helplines available across the country. We ourselves, Fortis runs a helpline 24/7, and I'm sure most of you would be aware about that. If you're not, I mean, I can always tell you the number and you can write it down. It's 837 680 4102. I'll repeat that, 837 680 4102. So बहुत बार ऐसा होता है that we don't have somebody to speak to. And you fear about anonymity, you fear about confidentiality, you fear that they're going to say something to your parents, you fear that what if they're going to judge you. At that time, picking up the phone, dialing a number and just speaking your heart out is so, it's so therapeutic, because it just complete confidentiality. Nobody's asking your name, nobody's going to speak to your parents, but you're going to get expert help in return, right? So in situations like these, you should always reach out to a mental health expert in the form of helplines if you can't reach out to somebody professional.
Yeah. So our next question is from Keshav Gupta. You have to unmute yourself.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, my question is at the time of exams, as the exams comes near, ma'am, our mind starts being unstable. So, ma'am, how to stable our mind during exams, which is very important for studies also.
Absolutely, Keshav. But the question is why the mind gets unstable during exams. What about exams approaching is so frightening, or is it so threatening that हमारा mind automatically anxious होने लग जाता है? Is it lack of preparation? Is it anxiety of how you're going to write the exam? Is it anxiety of whether you're going to pass or not? Is it anxiety about you're not going to get good marks? You need to identify the trigger. That what about exams approaching is bothering you so much. Once you identify the trigger, then you ask yourself that what you can do to reduce the distress that you experience when you think about the situation in that manner, and then you work accordingly. But the key point is to first ask yourself, what is it that is making you feel unstable?
Hope, Keshav, you have got your answer. Moving on, next question is it's Umesh Kumar. Yes, Umesh, you can unmute yourself. Okay, but some names are there like Redmi and all. I won't be able to announce that name. So, moving on, next question, Sharda. Miss Sharda.
Yes, ma'am, I have question. Ma'am, you give the number on which we can make our tell all the my everything in our heart and everything. Ma'am, can you
Yes,
that number, please?
absolutely. 83
Yes, ma'am.
768
768.
04
Yes, ma'am.
102.
Thank you, ma'am.
No problem.
Ma'am, ma'am, we have to study for the late night. So what we can do?
You want to study late night? You don't want to study late night?
Ma'am, I want to.
Why do you want to study at night?
Ma'am, because I cannot wake up early.
Then you study in the daytime.
No, ma'am, it feels better.
No, studying at night is never better. So when you study at night, that means you are playing with your sleep and wake routine. That means you are not taking. So, okay, think of it this way. There is a reason why everybody sleeps at night, right? All humans technically sleep at night unless they don't want to. That's the evolutionary way. And if you want to wake up at night, that means you're doing something wrong. And you're doing something wrong because that means you are disrupting your circadian rhythm, which is your sleep wake pattern. So, right now, when we are at home, we don't have anything to do, we don't have to go to school. It's okay if you're waking up late, but then you study through the day and you sleep at night. It's very important to prioritize your sleep and wake pattern because that has a very direct correlation with your moods and your mental health. Staying up late at night, then sleeping through the day, waking up in the evening, not spending enough time with your family, not having enough time to do other things, and then again studying through the night is not going to help. So I personally advise against it.
I totally agree with Miss Nishtha. So studying at night is not advisable. You should study in daytime, or like up to 10 is good, but
Absolutely.
after that it is like really ruin your sleep and everything. And next question, Vaishnav.
Ma'am, can you repeat the mobile number?
Okay, so you
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you go.
I'll repeat the mobile number where anybody who doesn't write it down, I think the IPN.
Yeah,
Can
we will do that. We will
Akanksha, we'll have the number with us. We will
Yeah.
send it across to the students on their email addresses.
I have noted it down, and
Great.
Yeah.
so next question, it's Tanvi Chaudhary.
Ma'am, but what if it's like I focus better at night, but then obviously my sleep schedule gets messed and all of it. So like, what can help in that?
So absolutely. What you need to ask yourself is what about the night environment is helping you focus better and recreate that same conducive environment in the daytime. I'm pretty sure studying in the daylight is going to be definitely better, but I understand that raat ko shanti hoti hai, everybody is slept off, you don't have any disturbances. Try recreating the same thing during the daytime by speaking to your people, to the people around you, that this is the kind of an environment that I like to study, and this is going to help me concentrate better. So I would want to change my sleeping hours and my study hours.
Next question is Tanisha. Tanisha, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, good evening, ma'am. I want to ask that I'm a 12th standard student, and due to this situation, I'm spending my most of the time in drawings and art. So, is it correct?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, it's absolutely fine for you to be doing what you really like doing. We don't know exams are going to happen or not. We just take it for granted that the exams are going to happen next month. If you are spending all your time in a particular activity, you just need to create a balance. Take out at least 2 hours in a day to just revise your syllabus so that aisa now that when the date sheet comes out, if it comes out, you will find yourself in a very difficult situation. All you need to do is not leave, not lose touch from studies. But otherwise, if you are spending all your time drawing, painting, that's absolutely good and healthy. I'm happy that you're doing this and not spending your time on social media.
Yeah. Next question, Nupur. Nupur, you can unmute yourself.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, my
Good
question
evening.
is how can I deal with stress during board exams?
How can you deal with?
Stress.
Okay, so stress during board exams. See, ideally, I understand the stress is omnipresent, but ask yourself, is the stress about whether the exams are happening or not? Is the stress about what if exams happen? Is the stress about when exams happening? All of these questions need to be answered for you to be able to understand that where is the stress coming from. Once you know where the stress is coming from, then it's going to be easier to focus on relieving that stress. If it's about board exams, if it is about jab exams hoenge tab kya karenge, you take it as any other exam. I mean, you've given exams for like what, the last 11 years of your life, and we have crossed every year, right? Similarly, you crossed this year also.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll ask Pratul, you can take the next question. You can ask, just unmute.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, my question to you is, at this point of time, looking at the university cutoff, it's raking up high at 99, 100%. And our current pre-board marks clearly don't reflect that. So how do I wake up in the morning, complete 3 to 4 sample papers a day without making sure I don't lose any confidence and stay intact to get that day?
So, Pratul, again, what is in your control and what is not in your control? What is in your control is that you prepare well in advance for when the exams happen. What is not in your control is the marks you get. Your preparation, what you write, is in your control, right? And at the same time, it's also very important to understand that given the unprecedented situation, we don't know what's going to happen to the cutoffs. We don't know what's going to happen to entry into Delhi University. Most definitely, we need to be able to trust in the process and understand that everybody's in this together at the moment. You're not alone in experiencing the anxiety of having to get really good percentage to be able to get into the university. आपको बस पढ़ाई अच्छे से करनी है और पेपर अच्छे से देना है, and that's where your job's done. Just focus on that. So you get up every morning, you solve your sample papers, and you leave the rest.
I hope that answers your question. We'll next move to Gautam. Gautam, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Gautam from class 12th. Ma'am, actually, my question is that earlier, no, I was having a zeal to study more. Means I was having a fire within to study, but now, I'm not. I've lost full complete motivation. I'm not able to study that much. I'm not able to execute my timetable. So, ma'am, will you please give me how to execute a timetable, how to follow it properly? Because in this stressful time, I'm not able to really concentrate.
Absolutely. I completely understand that. And, this is a very important question. You need to ask yourself that I'm not able to find the concentration and the motivation. Why? What is going to motivate you to study? What was it before that was going in your favor and now is not going in your favor anymore? What was it? What is different now? Is it the external environment that is affecting you? Is it your internal thoughts and feelings that is affecting you so much, which is not making you, not letting you concentrate? What is it? Secondly, when you say that you're not able to follow the timetable, again, is it just the inability to follow it? Is it laziness? Is it procrastination? Is it sleeping all day? Or is it not feeling motivated enough from within to be able to even follow the timetable, because you feel that what's the point of following the timetable now, given the circumstances outside? So most definitely what has changed is the surroundings and the external environment, but you need to also be very mindful of how much impact that is having on you right now.
I hope that answers your question. We'll move to the next question. Arush, please unmute yourself and ask the question.
Ma'am, I am actually an 11th grader and I have two questions to ask, so I'll ask one by one. My first question is that since I had prepared very well for the board exams, the news of cancellation really disappointed me and many other students like me. As a result, my morale was very low for 3 or 4 days, and moreover, people were also commenting things like, "Tumne to pura saal padha, ab dekho what is happening to you." And we had fun all year round, and we are still having fun. So, ma'am, how should I control depression caused by sudden unexpected things like this, and moreover, such comments from people?
So first of all, I think it's important to understand that जो लोग बोलते हैं उसकी कोई value नहीं होती है. Okay. More people around you, more comments that you're going to be hearing. Everybody has a different thing to say to the situation. Everybody has a right to express what they want to. But at the same time, again, I would want to focus and reiterate on you controlling what is in your control and not trying to control what is happening outside. So people are going to say things, but you need to ask yourself, are they making sense? Is it even important? Is it even worth it to, even give 2 minutes of your attention to what somebody else has said to you? The second part of your question, which was how to deal with the depression of sudden changes in your environment and sudden news. I think again, you're not alone in this. Lots of people had been struggling very hard to prepare for the exams, and not just your exams have been cancelled, everybody's exams have been cancelled. And in the scheme of things, when you kind of see the reality outside, you realize that exams are not even the most important thing right now. What is important is maintaining the appropriate social COVID appropriate behavior, and ensuring that you and your loved ones are safe. You and your loved ones don't get the virus. So I think it almost comes as a decision which is in everybody's benefit, that students don't go and write their exams and they don't get infected and don't infect their loved ones also. So, if you see things from a different perspective, then automatically how you perceive them changes and you feel more positive about your external situation rather than feel depressed about it.
Thank you. Charanjot, please unmute yourself and ask your question.
My name is Chiranjit Kaur. I'm from Ryan International School, Patiala, and I am in 12th grade. And my question is to how to do time management between different subjects. I have 6 subjects, and how to learn for exams, and how to cover the syllabus before time, and how to stay motivated and happy.
So, Charanjot, I think what you've asked is a question which is pertinent to both COVID and not COVID situations, because when you say how to study, how to manage time, अभी तो स्कूल भी नहीं जा रहे हैं तो टाइम ही टाइम है, सिर्फ क्लासेस भी नहीं हो रही है, टाइम ही टाइम है सिर्फ, तो टाइम मैनेजमेंट में इशू क्यों आ रहा है फिर? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, and no, it's not an issue, but I don't know the best way how to study, like how to learn. Can you tell me the way how to study in this time period because we need some motivation?
Okay, so essentially what is important here is to just study as if exams are starting from next month. And I'm pretty sure you've given pre-boards and you've given mock tests.
Yes,
and you would have known the syllabus by now. So it's not that you're starting from scratch. It's just revision. So, you give 1 week to every subject and you will be able to complete it. Absolutely, with no struggle whatsoever. It could be either giving 1 week to every subject or giving 2 hours every day to one subject. It could be how you feel. So which subject is more difficult gets more days, and whichever subject is easier and you think that you have a grip on the syllabus gets less days.
Okay, ma'am.
I hope that answers your question. I'll request Abhay to unmute himself and ask the question.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. I am Abhay Gupta from Gorakhpur. Ma'am, when I sit to study, then my mind floats here and there. I can't sit for a long time to study. And ma'am, when I made my timetable, then from tomorrow I can't follow my timetable. Ma'am, which thing can motivate me for study?
Where do you see yourself in 5 years is the question that you have to answer, and you study for that. You study to achieve that goal, achieve that success, achieve that path. That's why you study, and that's what gives you motivation.
Abhay, I hope that answers.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. I'll ask Nupur to unmute herself. Yes, Nupur, go ahead.
Ma'am, I have to ask, what if I don't get the marks I'm expecting?
How do you know that you won't get the marks you're expecting?
After board results.
But how do you know that you won't get the marks that you're expecting?
Ma'am, because I am doing hard work and I expecting good marks. So then.
Exactly. So you're doing a lot of hard work. You want good marks. You will get good marks. Believe in the process. Believe in yourself. Rather than thinking about what if I don't get good marks? What if I put in so much of preparation and yet I'm not able to get what I want? We don't know what is going to happen. Why do we worry about something that is in the future? We absolutely can't predict. Right? So you just focus in the process, and believe in yourself.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, the next question. Arnav, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
My question to you is that how to study consistently?
How to study consistently? Just study for 2 hours every day. Make sure you study for 2 hours every day. Promise yourself that you will study for 2 hours every day. That's all you need to do to maintain consistency.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, the next question. Ayush, please unmute yourself. Ayush Jaiswal.
Good evening, ma'am. I have just 2 questions. My first question is that, as you told before, that make a set of 45 minutes and try consistently in that 45 minutes. I tried to make a set of 60 minutes, and I obviously try to practice my questions or doing a sample paper or sometimes doing some other questions. But as soon as the 60 minutes get over, many times it happens to me that I get distracted over for a lot period of time, means like for another half an hour or more than 1 hour or sometimes maybe 2 hours. I don't come back to the track. what should I do so that I come back to the track in just a few minutes? Like I said myself that okay, it's a break of 5 minutes, but I don't never take a break of 5 minutes. It's obviously more than that.
What do you do in that break?
When I try to walk or just go around in the balcony, or sometimes I read messages or some emails, or reading some any other book. I tell you the story of yesterday. I was reading my book, and I never came back. It took me 1 hour to come back to what normal studies are.
So what distracted you in that moment? Did you pick up your phone or did you pick up some other
The book,
gadget?
the book which I was reading distracted me from coming back because it kept me in that aura of itself.
Okay. So you were reading a book.
Yes, ma'am.
So in that moment, you just tell yourself that I'm going to read until a particular time. You give yourself 15 minutes, right? You read as much as you can in those 15 minutes. What happened there was that the book that you were reading in the break was more interesting than what you were doing before that. So what was interesting to you in that moment got your attention for a longer period of time than your studies. In that situation, what you need to do is to exercise some self-control. You need to tell yourself, prioritize for yourself what is more important and what isn't. And once you're able to prioritize for yourself, you just need to ensure that you stick with it, stick with the plan. As long as you stick with the plan, you will not be able to, you will not waste time. So you study for 45 minutes, get up, read a chapter in 15, 20 minutes, and you come back and study. And then you give yourself that reinforcement that if I study for only 45 minutes more, will I be able to read the next chapter? That will automatically create a pattern in your day, and you will be able to do both the things with a balance.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
I'll ask Shreya to unmute herself and ask the question.
Good evening, ma'am. This is
Good
Shreya.
evening.
I'm currently studying in 10th grade. And my problem is that I used to study a lot till like 8th grade. But in this COVID situation, I mostly spend my time in, my hobbies like sketching, doing calligraphy, or doodling. But I want to study more, but I just can't. I just lose my focus. I just wish to do my hobbies. So, like, is it normal? And what do I
Yes,
do?
absolutely. I think it's absolutely all right to pursue your hobbies. This is a time when we need to, like I've been maintaining, strike a balance between everything that we do. So if you are spending some time in pursuing your hobbies, that's absolutely not a problem as long as you don't overdo it and as long as it doesn't spill over in all the other activities of the day.
Divyansh Gera, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Hmm.
Ma'am, my question is that when this pandemic come, I didn't concentrated on study. So how much time I will spend on social media and how much time I will study?
I think that is a question that you need to answer for yourself when it comes to managing your time. You need to ask yourself how much have you studied already? What is the level of your preparation? If you think that you have prepared well enough, then you can give equal time to both. If you feel that you haven't studied well, then you obviously don't prioritize social media and you prioritize your studies over it and you give substantial amount of time during the day to your studies.
I did not concentrated on studies.
Then
So
you do that now.
okay, ma'am. Thank
Then
you.
you need to give yourself a proper schedule where you only use your phone for about 1.5, 2 hours a day, and the rest of the day you focus on studies so that you are not anxious when the date sheet comes out.
So we'll be having last 3 questions as promised to Miss Nishtha that we'll be concluding it at 6. So last 3 questions. Yes, Pooja ma'am.
Yeah, Bhavya, just unmute yourself and take the question.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I came in 12th grade last month only. So my question is, what advices you have for the new students who will give board exams and how they should study, what schedule they should follow?
I think right now, given the situation, you are the luckiest person amongst all the people. 11th standard, so 11th standard people who've just graduated into 12th standard, the luckiest of the lot. So have fun right now. Be consistent in your approach towards studying. Don't waste time thinking that पढ़ लेंगे बाद में, कल करेंगे, परसों करेंगे, अभी नहीं करना है, स्कूल जाने की जरूरत नहीं है, and all of those things. I think what is more important is that you create a balance. And one tip that I have for you is don't procrastinate things. Maintain the right balance between your social media. Don't skip classes and study a little every day, even if it's for an hour.
Okay, now I'll ask Ankit Gaur to unmute himself.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, I had to ask this thing, ma'am. Like every teacher, like we study tuitions and we go coachings, and ma'am, every teacher gives their own personal homeworks, and we get homeworks from school as well as classworks. As I cannot take my time out of it to revise from, ma'am, study, ma'am, self study. So, ma'am, how can I manage my timetable from it? Because if I don't do a work for one teacher, then they say that I'm careless and I'm not completing the work on time.
I think what is more important right now is to just focus on completing the homework given the situation. Given, are you in 11th grade?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I just passed from 11th grade to 12th grade, ma'am. It's been
Right.
2 months.
So you've just come in 12th grade. I
Yes, ma'am.
understand that you want to answer, you want to kind of do everybody's homework and you want to be very sincere with your work. So all you need to do is right now focus on the homework. And that in itself is almost like a self-study, honestly, in my opinion, that when you are doing homework, you are solving, you're revising, you are able to study at the same time, and it's almost like a revision for what you have studied during the day in your class. So I think it's completely fine if you're not getting time for studying, self-study, as long as you're completing the homework with the right approach, not just doing it for the sake of it so that you don't get pulled up by the teachers, but actually doing it in a manner that you understand what you're doing.
Okay, I will ask. There was a guy, Aryan, who was sending angry emojis. I will unmute you and you can ask your question. Aryan. Do you have a question, Aryan?
Let's go to Bhumika.
Yes, let's go to Bhumika. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question that, good evening, ma'am. I have two questions. First question is that, ma'am, sometimes we think that there are long questions and we are not able to learn them.
Sorry, I didn't follow your question.
Bhumika, there is lots of disturbance at your end. So, firstly, you should unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
There is lots of disturbance at your end. So, keep slow so that we can understand your question. Yeah. Go ahead. I think there is some network issue.
Okay, I think it's already going to be 6 o'clock. So we'll take one last question from...
Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, 8th standard. And I want...
Network issue.
Yeah. So I think we'll just ask Viniti Pandita. Unmute yourself, beta.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Viniti Pandita, and I am a student of Ryan International School, Patiala. Ma'am, my question is that how to prepare oneself for exams if COVID has impacted the student and its family?
So I think in this situation, one needs to be very sensitive in their approach towards anything else. It's very difficult for any family who has gone through COVID or has lost somebody to COVID, and it's that takes priority over everything else. You need to understand that you have to give sufficient amount of time to your family, to yourself to be able to recuperate, to yourself to be able to regain your energy, and at the same time also give adequate importance to your exams. So in this situation, what is best is to not take a lot of stress. I understand that we don't know about when exams are going to happen, but just believe in yourself. I'm pretty sure, like I've said, that most of you have been preparing for the boards almost seeming that they're going to happen in March or April, but they didn't. So most definitely you do know the syllabus to a great extent. All you need to do is consider studies as a distraction from the environment that you're in at the moment. And don't consider it as a task or something that you need to be stressed about, but just something that you have to or you can do to take you off the negativity that you are surrounded by at the moment. And giving it that much of importance is also good enough for you in that moment.
Thank you so much, Nitisha, for all your answers to the students' queries. I hope.
Good evening, ma'am. Can I please ask my question?
Who's that?
I'm in 12th standard, waiting for my boards.
Okay,
please. I have
Yeah, kindly introduce yourself.
Ma'am, I'm Arundhati Pathak, and I have a question that sleep is, as we know, very much important, but I feel very sleepy even in daytime, even when I want to study. So how to control that excessive sleep?
I would encourage you to indulge in some physical exercise. You sleep on time, you wake up on time, you follow a morning routine where you do your daily chores, taking a bath, getting fresh, eating your breakfast, include some exercise in it, and take breaks in between while you're studying so that it doesn't feel like something which is a boring task and puts you off to sleep. Also, one more thing that really helps is to study on a table and chair and not on your bed, because that is something we advise against. Studying on your bed automatically makes you feel sleepy because your brain kind of gets confused whether to sleep or to rest or to study, because it sees the bed as a stimulus which is associated to resting. So essentially what I would recommend is to sit in a comfortable place, which is in an upright position, and then try your hand at studying.
And ma'am, is music good while focusing?
No, so music, only the one which is instrumental or classical that does not have any lyrics or not too many beats is something that is recommended to be playing in the background while you're trying to focus. But other than that, all your Bollywood songs which have a lot of lyrics is something that we don't recommend while you're trying to study, because that means you are confusing your mind with two pieces of information. One is the auditory, which is going on in your ears, and one is what you're trying to read.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so I will be just speaking an email ID. Whoever students have not been able to ask their question, you can just leave your queries on this email ID. It's teamipn@IPN India. I'll repeat it, teamipn@IPN India. Thank you, Nishtha ma'am, so much for giving your time, valuable time. And I hope the students have, achieved their questions, what all they had in their mind. I hope they've got the answers for that. Thank you so much, Nishtha. Thank you, Akanksha. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you, everyone.